All right. Hello, folks. I'd like to put together a little video on the transits happening right now. There's been a lot of movement around me, and I feel like there's a lot of positive change happening. Um, Change always comes with a little bit of everything, but in general, there's just like quite a bit of movement, and I think that's due to Uranus in particular making its move into Gemini. And so I'm just going to briefly go through the ascendant signs for everybody. And I'm going to pull up like the transits happening for this month, just so everyone could see the dates and take a quick peek. We're going to look at, okay, this is what's happening this month. And just to backtrack, like, I think the reason why there's so much change is because all of the big outer planets move signs within the last few months. So we had Pluto going into Aquarius, we had Neptune going into Aries, we had Saturn going into Aries, and this week we had Uranus entering Gemini. And so right now, this is kind of where we're at. And the big planets, they go into retrograde. So they typically move back out of that sign and then go back in for the duration of their stay in the new sign. And so this is just a little snapshot in case you want to take a photo. I love it when videos post the dates to things with the times. So here you have it. That's the snapshot of this month. And I'm going to start with Aries. So if you have Aries on the ascendant, you have Neptune and Saturn conjuncting your first house. So that's really going to allow you to break through some of the restrictions and barriers that you've been feeling. They're just kind of like, it's these two, I don't know if I'd say opposing, but yeah, pretty much opposing energies coming together. And Neptune is just cleansing wherever things were overly rigid. And then Saturn is bringing borders and boundaries to things that were lacking, restriction. So that's happening within the body, within the identity, within the person, and that's just mind-blowing. So Aries ascendant, that's a really great experience to have right now. And Uranus is going into your third house. So this is going to be about, a lot of changes regarding your communication style, how you wish to communicate with others, but also on a deeper level, what's happening within your mind. So there could be a rebellion against specific self-talk that you've had, or just, infiltrating thoughts within the mind. So I feel like this was going to bring about like a greater alignment, because that insight, that divine insight, is coming in directly into the mind. And it's going to affect your communication and, even the way that you travel around locally. It's affecting that local sphere of community. So big changes there. And I guess just the advice that I give would be to, like, when you have that insight come in, or that like feeling of rebellion coming out, simply, weigh it out carefully and go with it. If it's feeling, if you feel like these are the changes that you need to make. And so, yeah, with Jupiter in your fourth house, you have a lot of expansion in the home, and you might get lucky with anything regarding property sales, and also emotional well-being. Like, a lot of wisdom can come in through this regarding how, how much you've cleared out based on ancestral, you know, anything ancestral that you've been working through. There's this kind of wisdom that can come through at this time to support that and those changes. And so you're going to have, I think, a really incredible month ahead. And with Pluto lastly moving into your 11th house, there's going to be a lot of opportunities. Again, supporting that Jupiter energy. Just keep your home and your emotions in order and in flow with higher wisdom, and opportunities going to open up really for seeing things at a deeper level regarding your connection to the cosmos, to the energy ley lines, to the interconnected web, your network, and opportunities to connect with people on a greater output. And this is going to potentially happen through major transformations, major awakenings regarding these subjects, but it's all lining you up for, I think, greater fortune to come in with these things and higher ideals, you know, higher aims, higher goals that you can have in the world. We got Taurus on the ascendant. And so with Uranus coming into Gemini in your second house, there could be quite a bit of new sensations entering your body, new awareness about your body, about your self-value, about your self-worth, and where you'd like to take this energy, because it provides you with this kind of like little packets of shocking insight that you can then help to fuel Pluto being in your 10th house. And that's actually really great. There's a direct line there that's going to allow you to really reap the rewards of whatever work you've been doing to cultivate greater confidence and greater wisdom within health and body, you know, what you eat and how you take care of yourself on a physical level, equaling sensations, and then how that can support what you are here to bring forth into the world. So potentially a lot of transformations on the world stage with Pluto being there. Again, in Aquarius, so it's like reinforcing that, you know, rebellious kind of impulse that wants to come through with people who have Taurus ascendant, you know, and there's going to be changes, death and transformation, but all in hopes of moving towards something greater that encompasses a more balanced perspective within the cosmos. And so then you have Jupiter in your 3rd house in Cancer, and that's really going to expand your capacity to bring forth emotional wisdom within yourself, within your own mind, self-talk, but also in how you express yourself, you know, with friends and families, local community. And there's potential to, you know, even provide some key teachings for people around you at this time. If you're in a teacher role, this is really great. Anything you do locally, any initiatives will reap you big rewards. And if we go forward on this chart, we come to the Saturn and Neptune, which is conjuncting your 12th house in Aries. So that's a really interesting placement, maybe where, you know, you were blocked from some of your own internal fire and initiatory energies to create projects, to build things from the inside out. into this world will go through a remodeling, and whatever sort of subconscious blocks you've had that have been holding you back from initiating things from the depths of your soul will get a little bit unblocked, if not totally unblocked for you. And so those restrictions, will be removed. And I think it connects nicely to Uranus in your second house. So all the energies are really supportive right now. And you're going to be able to, I think, definitely benefit like this, one is feeding the other. So Uranus in the second house, transforming your self-worth and, how you feel in your body is going to be supporting this transformation happening in your subconscious, in, your connection with the divine, and potentially in foreign lands, but not necessarily, but it's going to be supporting that. And it's going to help you break through these deeper layers of really self-understanding, and it'll become like a self-overstanding. And maybe where you were too, I guess, hadn't worked through subconscious material, and just sort of letting that seep and control other aspects of your life, that's going to be corrected by Saturn there conjuncting Neptune. So that's a really great, those are great energies, supportive energies for you to move forward with this month. We're going to move on. And we have Gemini in the ascendant. And woo, Gemini here has Uranus going into first house. So that's really incredible. There's going to be definitely a transformation, a visual transformation of people who have Gemini ascendant. And it's going to bring that, it's divine and insight into the physical body. So, transformations really happening from within, from a cellular level. And it's going to allow sort of liberation of things that were blocked and stuck there. And it's going to help you align closer to your authentic self, beyond anything else, trauma or health issues or, all of that stuff. I think it's going to really allow a greater attunement to divine insight on that level. And with Jupiter expanding the body, there may be a lot of sensations that are going on at the same time related to, Uranus going into the first house. So it's going to open up bodily sensations. You're going to feel the changes coming through, but there's also going to be a lot more wisdom and higher learning connected to your self-worth, your abundance, and how that plays out in the world. So, it is connected to Cancer here in Gemini ascendant chart. So, that really is connected to emotions and emotional intelligence, but more so emotional wisdom, because emotional wisdom comes through differently than, an intellectual capacity. It's going to come in through a felt sense. And so that higher learning is happening on that level. And we have Neptune and Saturn entering your 11th house in Aries. So, this really strong independent energy is going to somewhat be modified and aligned, I think, with these opposing energies coming together. Neptune is going to be softening Aries ideals. Maybe, strong ideals could have been impeding like growth within networks, growth within connecting to specific stargates and alignment, celestial alignment. And And so that's going to be evened out. And, Neptune, um, maybe the obsession with certain ideals as well will get curved back. And there'll be more of a balanced approach to what our place is, what our role is within our networks, where we can bring forth our highest aims for the collective, and how we can even use that to heal some of the, Saturnian things that we're facing on a collective level. So again, really interesting chart. I think they all are right now. And I'm going to move on. Okay, so Cancer Ascendant. Cancer, 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 baby. Cancer Ascendant, we got Jupiter in the first house. This is like, whoa. I don't want to say emotional flare up, but don't be too cranky. Don't be too possessive. Don't be too envious, and really allow that emotional wisdom to come through, because you're going to be feeling an increase and an expansion of the emotional body, of that maternal principle, of the feminine principle, if you're a man. And that's really going to provoke a lot of things coming to the surface that are going to essentially transform your identity, over the next little bit. And so you want to just maintain balance and really nurture, the equilibrium of your emotional body, and take care of that. And then that's going to set a strong foundation for everything else to play out properly in your chart. Because you do have Neptune and Saturn conjuncting your 10th house. And Neptune and Saturn conjuncting your 10th house is going to peel back restrictions, around career and legacy. Wherever there was an imbalance there, where maybe you were too harsh with yourself, and had too high of an expectation, pushing yourself to really create order within that house, within career and legacy. Neptune's going to soften that a little bit by bringing in compassion and helping you to see the balance. It's always in the emotional balance, the mental balance, the physical balance, and that's going to be key for people who have Cancer Ascendant. There are going to be sometimes even like corrections to areas that we weren't focusing enough on in, bringing forth our goals into the world. So Saturn's going to help if that was the case, or that is the case for you. Saturn's going to help to restrict the illusions and, the kind of addictions and all the things that might be holding the person back from creating, that order within that house. So really awesome energy that is supported by Pluto in the 8th house. So incredible energy here. Pluto in the 8th house, it's like a double whammy, baby, with Aquarius there. There's going to be, potential for massive transformations, psychological transformations regarding your place in the world and your responsibilities in the world, and what you feel you have any dharma with, in terms of like, things that you want to bring forth, that you feel you have to bring forth into the world. So we're talking about you know, karmic contracts, they call it. Karma could be good or bad, but it's really contracts that we have, in this case with the collective. And so this is really going to support, any missions that you've come down and roles that you've come down to play on this planet. Pluto is going to help get rid of all of the stuff holding you back from accomplishing those. So really supportive energy there, but it will shake things up on a deep fundamental level and go into all the little unseen places and potentially provoke, these beautiful death and rebirths and people coming, people going, a lot of people, all different walks of life coming into your life and having these exchanges with them that are really intense and beautiful and transformational. And so, yeah, I'm going to talk about Uranus going into your 12th house. So here, there is, again, the potential for your connection to the divine to really open up, like communication with higher self, communication with energies that exist beyond this 3D mundane reality. Channeling different aspects of yourself, right? And being able to identify clearly in writing or in words what those are. And, creating a clear channel for you to have those regular conversations with. It's also going to help you break down any communication barriers you have with yourself and with people around you. There could be an opening to working or traveling to foreign lands as well, more on like a mundane level. And there will be like an inner rebellion when it comes to your relationship to the deepest aspect of yourself, and reconciling opposing energies, reconciling paradoxes, reconciling dualistic energies within the self, and then being able to do that integration work through potentially really strong dreams and really provocative mystical experiences as well. So it's just really awesome. I say stay balanced because you have all that energy focused in the 10th house of career and legacy. And then you have Uranus in the 12th house, which is going to be like kind of fueling you, I think, with divine inspiration. So enjoy the ride and, again, just stay grounded when it comes to Jupiter in your first house in Cancer. Like I said at the beginning, stay away from all those kind of like gnarly Cancerian energies that might want to pull you into these lower realms through the feeling body, and really just keep on cultivating that nurturing and protective energy and that psychic energy, because Cancer is super psychic, and that's why it can sometimes provoke these really deep, and provocative feelings, is because they are connected to a lot of information psychically. So just keep that in mind, keep expanding the heart, right? And the heart and that maternal protective energy allows you to overcome whatever feelings come up, because you keep on expanding that out and gaining like a greater fortitude when it comes to your emotional capacity and what you are able to hold space for within yourself through all of this expansion of psychic energy. So that's my advice. Okay, moving on. We got Leo on the ascendant. Leo on the ascendant has Saturn and Neptune in the 9th house. So whatever, belief systems have been restricting you, or illusions, right? Like the illusions that your belief systems could have created for you, those are going to go. They're going to go, they're going to go, they're going to go. And you're going to find a kind of new, like a renewal energy to again start anew, like the beginner's mind, but like with all this knowledge and like having come to all these conclusions, you're going to be able to like start fresh with that. And Saturn and Neptune being conjunct there are really going to help you keep that in balance, like, you know, where you might have become like disillusioned by specific belief systems, not only within yourself, but like within the world, within institutions, within ideologies, within religions, you know, within just different groups, you know, that might have been pushing out uh, different philosophies. You know, Saturn's going to come in, it's going to be like, no, look at these carefully and correct them. Whatever they are, we're gonna bring order to this chaos. So there might have been like, you know, last year, just learning so many new things, and then Saturn conjuncting Neptune is really going to help you refine what those are. And where you might have been too restrictive on the flip side, you know, is if you've been restricting yourself from learning new things and from coming into different knowledge and wisdom and kind of reaching higher, you know, with the knowledge that you have, saying, okay, what's next? You know, I've learned this, I've done this, now where can I reach? That's even, you know, encompassing that much more. Neptune's going to come in and help you do that. So it's like a beautiful, you know, little breakdown in the 9th house. And then we have Uranus going into your 11th house. So it's going to be, you know, shock and awe, shock and awe campaign. You might feel the ley lines a lot more. You might feel, you know, earth energies, elemental energies, the weather. You know, you might receive divine inspiration on a more regular basis that are going to be fueling some of your aspirations and ideals. There could be a great sudden change regarding luck and fortune. You know, that's really positive. And you know, it's going into Gemini, so this has a lot to do with what you're going to be putting out, you know, either through writing or through just speech in the world, whether it's with community, friends, family, community, but how that impacts like a more collective level and like greater networks. So how you show up on the smaller scale is going to be impacting the larger networks around you. So you might shake things up a little bit, you know, as that authentic self, you know, starts to emerge, because Uranus is usually like breaking down things that have been impeding us from being in the flow and being in that divine connection, and just, you know, moving forward really in the direction that we want to go. Like whatever's been impeding us, Uranus is going to just help us break that open. So there could be changes, you know, within your networks. You could leave one network group and move to another, or just change your ideals completely, you know, about things happening in the world, and how you would like to approach, you know, offering your gifts to humanity. So yeah, really awesome energies there. And then Jupiter expanding, you know, the 12th house in Cancer. There's the potential for a lot of repressed emotions to emerge. So your job is to convert that into practical wisdom, and whatever is being brought forth, And it could potentially just be you seeing, you know, how much emotional wisdom you have within you. And, you being able to like bring that forth in a way that you could share with humanity is also going to come into play. So it all depends on like the work that you've done already and, where you're going to take it from here. If you haven't done any healing work on yourself or any deep introspective work, then potentially a lot can come forward. But if you've been doing that work already, it's going to be amazing. I think there's going to be like these really beautiful kind of psychic um, insights and epiphanies that are going to emerge that are going to be fueling, your emotional body and helping you express that on into the world. So I think that's it. Oh yeah, and we got Pluto in the 7th. So yeah, there's going to be a lot like because it's nicely connected, Pluto in Aquarius is nicely connected to with the sextile there to Saturn and the Saturn and Neptune conjunction. It's going to fuel transformations within your relationships. So, just take that into account that that's fine. That's just part of evolution and it's part of transformation. That there could be really intense exchanges, within relationships, with work relationship, marriage, partnerships, friendships. But all of this is leading to like getting to know yourself on such a deep level and becoming more aligned and authentic with your emotional self, with those relationships, within those relationships, and within higher learning for yourself. So, in order to obtain those real truths within yourself, sometimes it does require people to come in and really like shake us up. So yeah, Pluto being there will have that effect, and there might be more of a like, feeling like, oh, okay, I gotta step back from relationships right now and go into the self. And that's fine with Jupiter there, you know, going into hermit mode a little bit and really like cultivating that emotional wisdom to then come back out and test it on the field with, the people in your life and try to like keep all that in balance, I think is really key and awesome. And, just keep on doing the work. And there's going to be super, super a lot of expansion, especially in your connection with the divine. So good luck with that. And I'm going to move on to, let's see, we got Virgo on the ascendant. So with Virgo on the ascendant, we have Pluto in the 6th house in Aquarius. It's going to really push, it's going to push a lot of things forward. It's going to be pushing, transforming your daily routines, transforming your work, and transforming what kind of things you want to bring forth into the world through your work, right? And how that is reinforced by your daily rituals and routines, right? I think it's really just going to clear out that house because whatever house Pluto moves through, it's rearranging and reordering and, through this transformation process. But there's going to be a really positive outcome. And so health-wise, just do the work. Don't ignore, anything. Pluto is there to assist. Pluto is a healer. Pluto will help you transform as long as you're just being with what arises and moving, taking that next step and doing the work for the transformation to happen, to support that transformation, because Pluto is going to transform no matter what. And so you just want to be supporting that transformation in a way that is not too, harsh and very light and very as delicate as possible, right? It's like Pluto, okay, I know you're going to transform me, but please, do it in a way that I can manage it, right? Um, but it's all good because it's, once it transforms that physical aspect and brings forth, if it has something to bring forth related to health and daily routines, it's going to clean up, addictions in that area. And it's going to clean that area up. And then it's going to be wide open for really, having this great flow with your work and career. And that's going to allow you to birth something, incredible for humanity, with Aquarius being there over the next, whatever it is, 17 years, 20 years. And then you have Neptune and Saturn in the 8th house in Aries. So this is going to allow you to see soul connections for what they are, to see karmic patterns for what they are, to see where, you're either too codependent on others, or where you have illusions about your connections to others. So this is really going to clear up all that stuff, which I think is great. It's deep psychological transformation as well. And wherever you've been super impulsive in your own psychology, regarding these connections with other people and with contracts that you have, it's going to soften that, and it's going to allow you to heal, what is necessary to move forward without like any extra weight. And where you've had really binding restrictions to contracts, Neptune is going to heal and cleanse some of those contracts, and it's going to help loosen things up, for you to then move forward with in greater balance. And so super, super potent, beautiful energy to work with. And then you have Uranus, making a debut in your 10th house this week with Gemini there. So that's like, wow. I think there's going to be a clear channel, right, between your higher self and what you can bring forth onto the global stage, a clear channel about who you are, what your gifts are, what you're here to do, what your legacy is in this world. Like really, there could be like strong impulses to rebel against what is, because, Uranus does bring that energy, and it's going to want to break down anything that has been kind of impeding that authentic, vision, like the authenticity of the self. Then, the vision that produces about what you are here to do is going to like break down anything impeding that from happening over the next 7 years. So there could be a really strong communication about who you are and what you're reaching for, what visions you are birthing into the world. And also, I think like people are going to just see a difference in your communication style. Like they're going to be like, oh, this person has changed. I can visually see that they've changed, and I don't know who they are anymore. But wherever they're going is exciting and it's liberating. Like I think, having Neptune and Saturn in the 8th house is really going to help correct like some of the, like I said earlier, like whatever denser energies or karmic patterns that were holding a person back is going to be a liberation into greater sovereignty, in terms of legacy and how you communicate that to the world. So with Jupiter expanding the 11th house in Cancer, this is again supportive of that. So, an increase in networking, like an increase in your connection to the collective and global movements. You know, it's going to bring, I think, a more refined experience, like emotional negotiations within networks, emotional negotiations of your higher ideals. And it's going to allow like a distilling, you know, of wisdom to come from that. But that is going to be like, I think in terms of this year, like just luck that's going to be brought forth. It's going to feel like luck and good fortune. And it's all going to be supported by that work that you do in the 8th house. So just like let that happen, do that work. And in the 6th house with Pluto, do that work. And there's going to be a really beautiful blossoming of this really strong creator energy, you know. Aries has that initiatory, that cardinal energy, but like Cancer is really creative, and it is the blossoming, you know, it is midsummer. So there's going to be really, I think, nice blossoming with networks and connections and, you know, visions that you're bringing into the world. Okay, let's see. So Libra Ascendant. All right, Libra Ascendant, Libra Ascendant. With Pluto entering the 5th house in Aquarius, there's going to be like, I think, you know, a lot of death and transformation around, you know, your own creative impulses and how they're connected to the collective, you know, finding creative ways of, you know, finding ways to bring forth things that are creative and self-fulfilling, but that are also have meaning and purpose for the greater collective. And really creative, like divine intelligence, because the 5th house is divine intelligence. So it's going to provoke a lot of change so that divine intelligence can come through to be able to nourish good, like seed good things for the future and nourish, bring nourishing things forward for the collective. And so there could be a lot of like just really interesting reflections, you know, on your own life force and how that energy is connected to your sexuality, connected to your love life, connected to your children, connected to, you know, what you bring forth into the world creatively. And that I think is being supported by Uranus going into your 9th house of higher learning, of, you know, foreign travel, and of belief systems, and, you know, like the masters that you connect with, and like your understanding of, you know, what roles all these ideologies play in the world, like what, you know, how they've affected you and how you are being affected by them. And so it's going to shake up, I think it's going to help Libra ascendants really refine what they believe and help them create a strong channel for speaking more intelligently and like in, you know, I wouldn't just say like transmitting the epiphanies and the divine insights, but being able to just communicate them on a more regular basis in an authentic way. So as the balancing takes place, like there might be just an interest to hang out with people and to have really interesting conversations on these things with the purpose of, you know, refining your gifts and refining these creative gifts to be able to bring forth things of interest and of purpose to the world. So those two energies are being supported by Saturn and Neptune in the 7th house. And so potentially meeting really interesting people that are going to provoke either like that Saturnian energy can be like really strongly individuated people who can then get you to question different beliefs that you have, and then that energy gets thrown back to the ninth house, where you can then go look at that and do more research, do more study. And so, Saturnian energy also in the seventh house will clear out people who have like really restrictive beliefs, that may have been people that, may their belief systems in those relationships that you have might have been impeding you from growing. Um, and so that's going to show up as like a healing. And Neptune being there, Neptune being there can be like the like really having these compassion, like this compassion for people you're in relationship with, and receiving compassion, seeing that divine spark, like finding spirit in the people around you, walking down the street and meeting a stranger, and then like having this really mystical encounter with someone that can like really spark all these divine insights. And so Neptune being there can bring a lot of devotion, a lot of healing and cleansing to relationships. And similarly, Saturn can bring like restrictive energy, but it could be helpful, it could be people that really help you refine yourself. And, because Neptune and Saturn are conjunct, I highly doubt that Saturnian energy, like if someone comes in and they're too restrictive, like Neptune's just going to wash that out. So I'm not so worried about it becoming limiting, like holding on to too many limiting relationships with Neptune there. But I see like more of the positive aspects of what that could bring, which is, helping you bring order to your own belief systems, helping bring higher learning, through the Hierophant, through some sort of like encounters with masters and mastery, and that really helping fuel that divine insight into ideas in the ninth house. And then this is reflected in Jupiter being in the 10th house. So this is going to expand, the 10th house. So all of this work that you're doing with people and hacking through philosophies, ideologies, personal belief systems, conditioning, any sort of mental gymnastics, that you're doing to grow, on the level of knowledge, is going to show up and expand that 10th house. And it's going to come off as like, this wisdom that you're able to bring forward. With Cancer there, Cancers are usually a bit laid back in the sense where they don't like the limelight. So I feel like it's going to be more about people coming to you to retrieve that wisdom. But nonetheless, it is going to expand that legacy. It's going to expand, what you're bringing forth. So if you have a career going on already, it's going to help expand that, and it's going to help you get really solid about what that is. So if anything's been unclear, there's going to be clarity with that. And with Uranus going into the ninth house, for people who haven't found their legacy, they haven't done the ancestral work to know who they are, where they come from on a blood, like in terms of blood lineage and, just cultural understanding of your ancestors, that's going to unlock, and you will be able to either receive synchronicities, divine insight, and really connect with your ancestors and find out what that legacy is. So that's really beautiful, supportive energy for expanding Jupiter in the 10th house. And regarding emotions, where you might have been restricted emotionally, in terms of like how people see you on the global stage, or where you might have been like overly emotional in terms of how people see you on the global stage, that is going to shift. And, people are going to, I think you're going to be able to bring forth like a more balanced emotional self into the world. So you just got to make sure that you don't allow any emotional flare-ups to really make it, all the way to the top of that chart. And like I was saying with, I forget which sign, but where Jupiter, Cancer ascendant, like that strong possibility of like feeling sharp, emotions. You just want to make sure that those negative emotions aren't the ones expanding on the global stage. So as long as you're doing the work with people and finding balance and doing the healing work and then connecting that with your ninth house of higher learning, it's going to filter through properly so that by the time Jupiter, whatever expansion it is doing in the 10th house, it's aligned with, again, the higher principles of Cancer, which is that psychic energy, psychic wisdom, heart expansion, and blossoming, that midsummer's day blossoming of energies. So yeah, so really exciting. Lots of beautiful relationships, lots of interesting ideas coming to the surface, flash insights, and again, epiphanies, stronger connection with ancestors, stronger self-knowledge, self-gnosis, and being able to bring that forward onto the global stage. So moving on, we have, what do I have? 2 Libras there. I do have 2 Libras there. Okay, so we're going to go to Scorpio. Scorpio on the ascendant. Okay, so Scorpio on the ascendant has, it has Pluto going into the 4th house. Okay, so Scorpio is already doing like all the work, under the surface, right? They'll go into the deepest, darkest places and do that transformation and really face and confront fears and challenge themselves on all these levels. But then you have Pluto going into the 4th house, which is going to even like aid that process more. So Scorpios can really be going through a transformation of, who they are in relation to their feminine principle, who they are in relation to their home, their family, their emotions, their relationship to their emotional self. And there's going to be a cleansing, that happens over the next couple decades regarding that. So it could be doing ancestral healing as well. It's going to be supporting ancestral healing work for sure. But I think because Aquarius is there, it's really going to be connected to whatever work Scorpio ascendants do in regards to, healing family wounds, especially on the maternal side. It's going to have a direct impact on the collective. So as within, as without, but especially in particular here, whatever work they do is going to have a ripple effect into the collective and into the future. So that's big, powerful work right there. And that's supported by Neptune and Saturn conjunction in the 6th house of, it's daily routines, it's personal health, which is connected to the emotional body, right? And work, work ethic, workflow, all of this. So there's, I think where maybe there have been like really drastic rituals and routines regarding like daily practices or even health practices, like taking like crazy amount of supplements or anything that's been like exaggerated within that house, because you have Aries there. So Aries tends to be like, oh, really moves forward with a lot of energy and it's very fiery. So I think it will just soften the edges. Having Neptune there is going to soften the edges around even potentially how hard that person has been on themselves regarding, you know, restrictions to a daily grind. Like someone could have been like going crazy working out, you know, or having like this you know, really restrictive diet. And Neptune's going to soften the edges around that and be like, listen, you know, you don't have to push yourself so hard, and you're going to get better results. And I'll show you how. And where the person has been like too lackadaisical in terms of their daily practices and routines, Neptune's going to come in, Saturn's going to come in and then help, you know, bring order to the illusions and the addictions that might have been holding the person back from, you know, really having a strong foundation in the sixth house of, you know, daily routines and health and practice. And so Saturn also is really good for helping people get through addiction, like when it's in conjunction here with Neptune. There's going to be a lot of strong masculine energy to help bring, you know, order to whatever is too exaggerated in that person's life in this house in particular. So this is really connected, you know, to Pluto in the fourth house. And so that emotional body heals as, you know, Neptune and Saturn move through the sixth house, and everything's going to balance itself out. Like this is like a clock, and it's all working together in beautiful synchronicity, right? And then we move up, and we have Uranus moving into the eighth house in Gemini. So this is going to be, you know, really being able to authentically express, you know, what these other planets are doing and how they're shaking and moving and creating more space for the person emotionally to breathe and to heal. And Uranus is then going to go in, and it's going to break up like any karmic ties that the person has that have been holding them back, like deep psychological transformation, you know, of the mind. It's really this like beautiful potential over the next 7 years to have a better understanding of the occult, of the unseen, of, you know, your karmic connections in the world, your soul contracts, and your connection to sexuality, you know. So there could be either like a liberation of like stuck energy in any of these areas, or there could just be like a more authentic expression of them, and a reconciliation of light and dark when it comes to more occult matters. So, you know, reconciliation, finding a balance between fire and water, finding a balance between, you know, everything you see in the world that is, let's just say, impeding the collective from really healing. You're going to find balance with that. So it's also about like a liberation of not feeling like you have to carry the weight of the underbelly of the world on your shoulders. But there will be like a better expression of it too. So, you know, releasing some of that weight might come through just a refinement of communication skill, communication style regarding those topics. And then it's, you know, you have Jupiter in your ninth house. And so again, there's going to be this expansion of wisdom that happens through those movements, and it's going to be expanding your knowledge of, you know, everything to do with philosophies, religions, and, you know, higher principles, higher learning, and again, the Hierophant, and coming into balance with, you know, that emotional and, you know, feminine principle like, so maybe a greater understanding of the feminine principle, embedded within these different teachings. Um, and there could be, where you've been more protective and private regarding these issues, there can be an expansion and a kind of liberation where you feel like you don't have to protect yourself as emotionally as much, because there is like a greater alignment within the self, within the daily routines, within the emotional body, really supporting, like feeling like, oh, okay, I can be more emotionally transparent with the world without the fear of it having, like, bringing up negative feelings at the same time. Like I mentioned with Cancer, there's always the chance of, having these emotional explosions and hot temper and, really, really strong feelings of psychic energy, possession, envy, and jealousy, and all these things that Cancer are known for, because Cancer is such a psychic energy. And so it invokes a lot of feeling. But I think, like, you with Jupiter there, Scorpio ascendants can kind of be liberated from those feelings, because Jupiter is bringing in the higher knowledge and the higher wisdom to be able to, unlock those things which kind of imprisoned Cancer in the ninth house, so freedom to express what you were thinking and feeling and learning, without there being as much of a pushback. So a lot of emotional wisdom coming through there. And I guess that's it for Scorpio ascendants. All right, so moving on, we have Sagittarius on the ascendant, and Sagittarius on the ascendant, we got Pluto in the third house. That's going to shake up, communication. It's going to shake up, how you think, like your relationship to yourself, your self-talk, and any mental patterns, repetitive loops that you've had are just going to be like, they're going to be washed away with, Pluto moving through that house. It's going to help you reconcile all sorts of things, go through that healing, death, and transformation. And it's really going to promote an increased connection to friends and family, local community, and your ability to bring forth higher ideals and higher wisdom, and almost like a futuristic connection to the world in your local community. So maybe like bringing forth, allowing you to like go and like get those ideas that can really help humanity, and then implement them in your local community. So that's super awesome. And Neptune conjunct Saturn happening in your fifth house is really going to bring order to, I think, that life force energy. If, you had a crazy Kundalini kind of experience, it's going to tone that energy down, help you work through like any life force, like mastery of life force energy, right? Mastery of like how to move the energy through your body to promote health and well-being, and that fuels your creativity, that then fuels, abundance and divine intelligence into the world. So, Neptune bringing compassion to that area of your life, could really be romantic partnerships stepping in and sharing like wisdom, right? And with you, that cleanses and really promotes like a greater connection or reestablishment of your primary energies, your connection to source, your connection to divine intelligence, your connection to life force energy. And then the Saturnian energy could bring in a few challenges with children, and, working through that is going to probably create like a stronger foundation and container for that creativity to emerge. So we have to take care of family, first, and then after that, we have time for creative endeavors. And so Saturn being there, like if we're too focused on our kids, Saturn, Neptune being conjunct Saturn is going to break that up and be like, listen, you have to stop focusing on your children now. They're getting old enough. You could start working on bringing forth like through your own individuation, something beautiful into the world, something creative into the world. And so, yeah, there's a lot of potential for different things. If you're having trouble with children, you're having trouble bringing certain strong foundation into your family, Saturn's going to help you do that. Saturn's going to say, okay, there's problems here, there's problems there. I'm going to come in and I'm going to help you order this house so that by the time I leave it, your relationship to your children and your family are more in balance with natural principles and natural laws. So really awesome energy there. And there's also like the example, of like you coming in balance with your own creative principle will inspire your family, will inspire your lovers, romantic partnerships, and it will allow you to be more playful. So a lot of like fun, playful energy can come out of this if we take care of business and take care of responsibilities first. Uranus is going into your 7th house. So this is definitely going to allow you to communicate your authentic self, perhaps through that individuation process that's happening in the 5th house. There's going to be like a push for certain rebellion or liberation within relationships that are no longer aligned to you. And so for the next 7 years, you could have really like beautiful, sort of spontaneous relationships come in that are assisting you in getting the 5th house in order, and that are assisting you in expressing that authentic self and that divine intelligence. So, yeah, 7th house energy here is, it's actually really interesting. I'm thinking that there could be kind of like a lot of butting heads with people too, like just through quick communication, maybe rein back on like responding really quickly, because that's going to bring in that impulsive energy, and you don't want to respond too quickly to people. And then maybe that just burning bridges or something, because with Uranus there, it's going to want to like move quickly, and it's going to want to share all of the things it's learning. And as it's pushing through in this 5th house, like the life force is like supporting that Uranian energy. So it is kind of like lightning strikes, and, maybe divine insight that is before its time in relationships, in regards to certain relationships you have. So just, keep that in mind. And of course, it's going to do what it has to do, but there's always a choice, and we could choose to, let things happen with like, really big tower moments, or have them happen in supportive ways for everybody involved, where change still happens, growth still happens, but in a way that is more mature and aligned to wisdom and integrity. So I would keep that in mind with Uranus coming into the 7th house. But like I said, there's going to be a lot of like great opportunity for beautiful connections with people, encountering mystical experience within relationships, divine unions, and just feeling like, you've found like a lot of people that are more aligned with your authentic self, like your soul tribe, over the next 7 years. And maybe having like a lot of fun with that, and having like really provocative and interesting conversations that spark a lot for everybody involved, you know. It could be at work, relationships at home, you know, with the kids. So all of that is really interesting. And then you have Jupiter in your 8th house. So that's going to be expanding. I think what comes forth in the 7th house with Uranus is expanding your understanding of really like the deeper life force energy connections you have to other people. So, you know, you may get really proficient at cord cutting, right? Because that you could do so much mental work, you know, but then you have this like emotional layer and this energetic layer. Jupiter going into 8th house could really help you master going through that transformation, like how to manage those deeper connections, how to work with soul contracts, how to work with you know, missions, right? That we have that are like bigger than the soul contracts because they're like collective missions. It's going to expand your understanding of that and also allow you, I think, to really gain wisdom on like transformation itself, to gain wisdom on like the emotional benefits of going through a psychological transformation, how liberating that could be for you and you know, within your emotional self and how you experience yourself emotionally. And also liberating, like if any energies, like emotional energies were locked in the past or locked in, you know, locked down with specific soul contracts or karmic contracts, those can be liberated. And again, it comes down to like wisdom. I would highly recommend not using, for Sagittarius ascendants, not using any, you know, if you're feeling like any of the darker energies, like really deep, you know, you have the Cancer, the psychic energy in the 8th house of the occult, you know, just make sure you stay aligned with integrity during this Jupiter transit because you don't want to misuse that energy while it's there, because Jupiter could be as beneficial as it can be harmful. So whatever you send out returns, whatever you're thinking is, you know, essentially whatever you send out in terms of thoughts, you know, if you don't actually reflect those thoughts onto the self, work through any projections, work through any negative, really negative, dark feelings, that's just gonna, it's just going to plant seeds, you know, harmful seeds within your garden. So you really want to just work through whatever comes up emotionally and just, you know, again, breathe into the heart, breathe into compassion, cultivate that stronger connection within your life force. Like if you feel like you're being drained by other people, go back to the 5th house and look at how you could initiate greater connection with your own life force, you know, and look at your own individuation process, because often these karmic contracts are strange. They tend to, you know, get people to take that energy and that focus and then project it onto these relationships because they have karmic contracts with them. But really the whole purpose of those karmic contracts are to allow the person to refine the self, to then bring back that energy onto the self, to grow and to push through their own limitations so that they can begin to individuate, you know, more into the world from a greater place of alignment that isn't as affected by, you know, echoes from the past, right? Patterns and conditioning from the past lives, you know, these imprints. So it's like a liberation of imprints. And it's really a beautiful energy in its highest form. This is like, you know, Earth Guardian energy. So there's like really strong Earth Guardian energy that can come through and that can allow you to do collective work, like this deep healing that you go through with yourself, regarding life force, regarding karmic contracts, regarding, you know, your sexual energy, regarding all these unseen forces. That's going to play out on you know, on the big stage. And it's going to have an impact on the collective. Everything ripples out, right? So it's going to allow you, like with Pluto in your third house, it's going to allow you to bring that wisdom forward in your local communities. So next, moving on to Capricorn on the ascendant. And Capricorn on the ascendant, you know, okay, we're going to look first at Pluto in the second house in Aquarius. You know, there's some really interesting stuff going on with, you know, your connection to your own self-worth in relation to what you bring forth into the world, like how you can bring forth abundance into the collective through this like higher overstanding of energies that are still kind of like distilling in. So it's a bit of a difficult energy to describe because Aquarius is futuristic and it does rebel against all those things that are holding humanity back from reaching its highest aspirations and goals. And so, you know, Pluto is going to help, I think, heal any of the fear mindset, you know, that was birthed from lack of confidence, lack of self-worth, and that will then allow the person to bring forth their vision and actually help them bring more abundance into the world that's aligned with these like higher principles. So yeah, that's some potent energy right there. And I think that's, yeah, I'm actually really excited to see that play out with some of the people that I know. So this energy that I just spoke of, you know, is being supported by the fourth house, everything going on in the fourth house. And let me just put my nose. Okay, so this platonic energy is being supported by everything that's happening in the fourth house. You know, we're talking about the house that governs our emotional self and the development of the emotional self when we were younger. And so whatever kind of things maybe we experienced as a young child that contributed to our emotional development that were not aligned with our higher principles, and with this like kind of maturity and wisdom has an opportunity to heal. So this is connecting with, you know, the self-worth and, you know, how we feel emotionally directly connects with our ability to bring forth abundance for ourselves and for others. And so there could be like a really strong potential for healing to happen regarding like our temper, regarding how hard we are on ourselves emotionally, regarding how much we push ourselves emotionally. And there's going to be more compassion that's going to come in. So wherever people lack compassion with you on an emotional level growing up, there could be healing around that, a cleansing. And wherever you're just too out of control in regards to your own emotions, Saturn's going to come in and help you organize and bring order, you know, to all of that. So there could be like just a greater understanding of how your emotional self works. And you know, a refinement of how your emotional body, like how you carry it around and how that shows up, starting in the home with family, you know, and how that, you know, shows up in the world. And so connection to the mother, connection to, I'd even say the womb, you know, the emotional state of the mother while you're in the womb. Could be some healing around that. And even some physical healing with Saturn being there, you know, any kind of illnesses that were, you know, maybe incurred during that time could be healed. Really, really strong potential for that. So, all of that energy and the work that, you know, you're going to be doing in the fourth house is going to be reinforcing the development of Pluto through the second house. And Uranus is going into your sixth house. So all of this is going to drastically change your daily routines, your daily routines, your daily you know, practices, your diet, or your exercise rituals, like all of that's going to be shaken about, and you might feel like you want to experience things that are different to how you've normally done them, right? You might be striving for really different type of work than what you've always had. You might want to be, you know, put your energies and efforts towards Uranian matters, which is like, you know, bringing forth something new, being innovative, bringing that innovative energy into what you do for work. And so, you know, you could find yourself aligned with companies that are just really innovative in the way they operate and what they're bringing forth. And I think there's going to be like a better communication between the self regarding how to align your daily practices and how to come into balance with the type of work that you want to do in the world. So the mind kind of having this sort of strength to balance both those things in a way that you've never been able to experience before. And if you're aligned properly, doing the work, you know, in the fourth house, then, you know, you will get the divine flash insights. Like you will be able to invent things, you know, reorganize, restructure a whole company for the benefit of like many. And potentially, you know, introduce different ideas and philosophies and innovations into the workforce, like on a global level, as it ripples out. Jupiter here is in Cancer in your seventh house. So expanding your emotional connection to others, expanding that emotional connection that you have to within your partnerships, right? Within your work relationships. So there's like really nice energies how it's playing out. Like the more work you do in the fourth house to heal whatever those, you know, things that either like just created a lack or you know, an over extension of emotional energy in childhood, you know, when you work through that, it actually increases your your luck in relationships, and it increases your ability to have these really powerful embodied relationships, like emotionally embodied relationships that are aligned with your higher ideals, that are extremely mature and, you know, based on this higher wisdom, this higher compassion. So that's really beautiful energy right there. Yeah, I like that a lot. So, you know, it's also just like, you know, whatever relationships you have now, if any of those relationships need to go through some sort of transformation with Jupiter there, there could be like a heightened sort of experience, emotional experience within those relationships. And you want to, like I mentioned to everybody, for Jupiter in Cancer, whatever house it's in, you know, just make sure, as that's psychic, because Cancer is psychic energy, you know, you can't hide anything from Cancerian. They're the water. They're everywhere. They're within everything. So they're connected to everything. And it can invoke a lot. Like the more you feel within others, you are going to have, you know, as you ascend through those relationships, you have to be able to expand the heart in order to receive more and more information. And that can be a painful process sometimes because everyone is working through different things at different times emotionally. And it is not a direct reflection of, you know, anything that is necessarily not fleeting. You know, it's like people are going through transformations and they might have really strong emotions that you might pick up on and feel, but just have compassion to know that everybody is transforming. And, you know, obviously follow your intuition, but don't let any strong emotions that you're picking up on in the psychic field or within relationships pull you into lower expressions of Cancer, right? Try not to be jealous within relationships, try not to be envious, try not to, you know, have those emotional eruptions where you just blow your lid and you know, the temper takes over and you ruin relationships. Just, you know, keep that in mind so that all of these really positive, supreme, you know, aspects of emotional intelligence can emerge within relationships. You know, it's like you get to choose where you're going to take it, but there will be relationships are going to invoke a lot. So whatever new connections you make is really going to invoke a lot. And again, it's playing into Pluto in Aquarius in your second house. It's all going to be fueling your personal relationship with self, and your self-worth, right? So it's going to help you to cultivate greater self-worth. It's going to help you to cultivate abundance, wealth and abundance, okay, that you could then, or is going to then fuel a vision for the world. And it's all related to this theme of healing the maternal feminine principles within yourself and the family line. All of this boils down to really strong balancing of, you know, the Aries fire, and the fourth house is ruled by Cancer, the water. So it's balancing fire and water. I think this is extremely positive. So I'm going to move on to the next. I'm wishing you guys luck. We have Aquarius on the ascendant. So Aquarius on the ascendant is, you know, it has Pluto directly into the first house. So we're talking about, you know, there's a digging into like who you are on a deeper level, getting to know yourself, going through personal transformations, like really big personal transformations where people might, you know, see Aquarius ascendant like today, and then like a few months from now, it's like, wow, this person just looks and acts totally different. It's like their identity has changed. And that's because they are moving through, you know, a big shift in their own personal identity with Pluto there. You can invoke a lot of strong emotions from people because Pluto on the ascendant makes you more magnetic. And so you can have like really strong reactions from people, either positive or negative, but that are there to help you align more with your authentic self, for you to discover who you are and what you are here doing, right, in this world, you know, right now during this time. It's going to help you discover your soul mission, self-knowledge, self-gnosis, really positive changes, you know, but there could be like a total physical shedding. So if you do go through that physical shedding, just be like gentle on yourself, make sure you support yourself by going to bed early, exercise, diet, really take care of yourself health-wise, because Pluto being there is really going to also connect you to the collective with Aquarius on your ascendant. And so you're going to be connected to like the ley lines, the weather, the collective, and Pluto is going to use that energy of Aquarius to transform you as well. So you might just wake up and feel like really intense energies, feel like you just feel like stuff going on the global stage within the ionosphere, you know, which is the collective unconscious. So there's just going to be like a lot of movement. Um, but I say like Pluto on the ascendant is definitely a gift. So seeing as you have Pluto on the ascendant here, like make the best of it and just like really take the time to do the work for yourself, you know. Don't disconnect yourself from the people around you, but do schedule off time to write, you know, to write on your own thoughts, to do specific healing practices that you know will benefit you, somatic therapy, you know, whatever it is to take care of the body, that you think is going to be helpful. So yeah, Pluto on the ascendant there, wow, just amazing. And it's connected, it's supported by Neptune and Saturn in your third house. And so this is really going to transform what you bring forth, you know, in your local community. Well, primarily in your mind. The third house is, you know, the mind and thoughts itself as they emerge. So you could have a lot of like really kind of like new ideas popping up there because it's going to refresh that Aries energy. So a lot of initiative within your own mind and psyche. And Saturn being there is going to help you bring order to whatever, like if your mind's just been really chaotic and you haven't really like put the spotlight on like what you're actually thinking in your own mind, and Saturn's going to help you say, well, actually look at all these thoughts that are coming through. You might not be paying attention, but they're there, and this is what you're thinking. And now you have a chance to look at that and to heal some of these things, to bring order, you know, to say, no, I'm not going to allow these mental loops to happen, or I'm going to push away these thoughts. I'm going to bring in these thoughts because these are supportive, and that creates a stronger foundation for me mentally to start building other ideas off of. And so Saturn's going to be there, and then Neptune is going to be cleansing that energy, where the mind has maybe been too either obsessive or you know, caught in fantasies, daydreaming, imagination, or just like a lack of clarity in the way that you communicate, you know, your ideas to the world. In the way, like if you have projects with Aries there, it's like if you got maybe have all these projects that you want to bring forth and people just can't understand you know, because that whatever, you know, lack of clarity of the self before Pluto going into the first, and, you know, with Neptune, whatever that, you know, brings, it's like if there's been a lack of clarity, there will be clarity moving forward after Saturn moves through this house. So there's like clarity of mind and then clarity of communication of ideas. Uh, and then like, I think starting new projects is really going to help you to start new projects in your local community and for people to see you in a new way, to start fresh, you know, to build a different reputation. Maybe you're for like the last 20 years, you've been doing one type of work or one type of thing, or, you know, always talking about this topic or that topic. And now it's going to give you an opportunity to actually, you might just have a shift and you'll be expressing different things. And people are really going to see the changes. And this is all fueled by Uranus in your fifth house of life force, creativity. So there definitely is going to be, you know, a desire to increase your authentic expression, but like it's going to be a fine tuning of your life force, right? Like you might have these spurts of energy, like this Uranian lightning just run through your whole body, you know, connected to your life force. Like fertility is that fertility energy and that prana, and that's going to liberate a bunch of stuck energies, and it's going to bring forth divine intelligence, you know, and your ability to communicate divine intelligence, to communicate creative ideas, your ability to liberate yourself from any blockages within the body. You might even communicate new ideas regarding parenting that are going to help the collective. Like there could be that in there too. And also being able to communicate a new way, right, to deal with a new way to overstand, or like a new like comprehension about life force itself, about divine intelligence, and like what that is and how we can use that to fuel things, into the future. So there's like really, wow, I just love Uranus in the fifth house. Really like a strong potential for innovation. Um, really strong potential. Like I was saying with Capricorn, Uranus entering the sixth. Well, here Uranus is entering the fifth. So it's not just necessarily strong potential for innovating within the workforce. It's like a strong potential for innovating on a collective creative uh, experience, like within a collective creative experience, like becoming, working with real creative energies where you're constructing, being able to construct and deconstruct things from that pre-materia. So that's going really deep, but like, yeah, a lot of like really interesting divine insight coming in about that stuff and how that all works. And with Jupiter in your sixth house, this is going to expand your emotional balance and connection to, your daily routines, your health, your emotional health, and what kind of daily routines fuel you in a positive way that can help support the transformation of Pluto in the first house and the expression of it through the mind, in local community in the third house, and how it can help keep you in balance as you get those sudden jolts of energy that birth forth divine intelligence and individuate you. It's like it's all this individuation energy, but Jupiter and Cancer in the sixth house is like, there's a potential of bringing forth something really interesting into the world with regards to work as well. And expanding, like Uranus in the fifth house might unlock really big pockets of energy and of life force to fuel your work life, right? And to fuel being able to use, elemental energy with that Cancerian psychic energy as well, to do things differently in your work life, in your work, with what you're bringing forth with your work. So just make sure that you're staying in balance with the proper, like the higher octave of the Cancerian energies, and don't fall into any of the lower expressions of it. So I'm gonna have to move on, almost out of battery. So last but not least, we have Pisces. Pisces in on the ascendant. Okay, let's look at Pluto first. So we have Pluto in Aquarius in the 12th house. And that is, just like incredible in terms of deep psychological transformation. Like we're talking about when we go through different lives and we experience transformation, that really has like a direct impact on the direction of soul through lifetimes and through greater cycles. Pluto in the 12th house really promotes that. So it allows us to transform our connection to soul, our connection to what these experiences that we have within all these lifetimes are. It gives us a greater understanding of the death and rebirth process in relation to these greater epochs and these greater cycles. It helps us understand how our thoughts are connected to the collective unconscious, and how we co-create with the collective and with the collective unconscious, right? So it gives us, Pluto here helps us tap into this like really mystical, and I'd say esoteric understanding of how energy, how these different veils are layered up, and what our contribution is, to to these different dimensions, right? And these different realities happening really around us and within us, and how we're connected to it all. So it's a really intense energy, really like super cool energy. But there will be like wherever I think we've been maybe unorganized in terms of what is happening within our subconscious mind and how we are connected, Pluto is going to help us transform, and it's going to help us uh, really establish like a stronger connection to the subconscious mind, a stronger connection to our dreams, a stronger connection to spiritual energies, and to, I think, source itself. And that's going to influence us and our own self-worth. And I think this is going to really help us, for Pisces Ascendant, establish a different way of seeing like our value in the world, and how we bring forth abundance. So abundance is really about a spiritual energy. And I think that there's going to be a cultivation of an increased spiritual energy within the person as Pluto moves through their 12th house. And with that, there's going to be like a greater knowledge that comes in about all of that, and how our place in the world, our place in the universe, our place with regards to what we can bring forth for, the times that we're in. Because Pluto in the 12th house is so higher level, it's going to transcend like our lifetime. We'll kind of see and be able to put into perspective like what we're doing here in this lifetime and how it connects to other lifetimes. And so, yeah, really, really beautiful, expansive energy. And that's supported by Uranus going into the 4th house. So Uranus in the 4th house is definitely going to bring divine insight and greater wisdom to like flash insights. It's going to electrify our emotional body, because Pluto's in the 12th house. So like anytime we have a mystical experience, or we have an out of body experience, or any of those things, we become electrified. So I think that divine inspiration we're going to feel it on an emotional level. And it's going to help us connect to the feminine principle within us, and the aspects of self that maybe have been limiting, like maybe where we've been limited emotionally from like truly just authentically experiencing ourselves, like, as for like a pure reflection. It's like if you feel one way, wherever you've been restraining that and holding it back for whatever reasons, could be liberated, and then you're able to express that in a way that you feel comfortable, or in sudden bursts with the people around you. But there's going to be like kind of like an opening of the floodgates of that emotional energy if it has been stuck. And also like just really divine insight about connection to the land that you're on, feeling I think deep connection to planetary energies, and to ley lines. You have the 4th and the 11th, which are connect to the ley lines, but this is it's got a very more physical quality to it, whereas the 11th house, experiencing the ley lines, is like, it's almost like, it could be outer. It doesn't have to be physical, whereas, experiencing the ley lines and the connection to the land in the 4th house is like very physical experience, very emotional experience. So it could be tapping into ancestral wisdom. It could be tapping into like, your heritage in a really visceral way, and then being able to communicate that to the world, like just gaining greater insight and wisdom through that 4th house. And how you understand it, Gemini, being able to communicate it, but then also how you understand it, right? And how you're able to use that for growth, to fuel growth in your life. And then, Jupiter being in the 5th house is really going to expand emotional, it's going to expand the emotional body, but it's going to show you, sorry, where your emotions how your emotions connect to your life force. So, we can have certain thoughts that drain our life force. We can have other thoughts which really open up the channels to like the fountain of youth and bringing forth more divine, beautiful divine, like prana and creative energy. And so Jupiter is going to help to show what that connection is between Cancer and the 5th house of life force and playfulness. And I gotta press pause because my computer's about to die. All right, so that's much better. I don't have to rush through the sharing anymore. So what was I saying? Yeah, we're talking about the connection to the land, Jupiter bringing wisdom into our lives through a greater understanding of the connection between our emotional body and our life force energy. And, how, like, just that higher knowledge of like what that connection is. And I think that the 5th house is going to be, Jupiter is going to be expanding individuation with Cancer there, expanding psychic energy. So there's the potential for developing psychic abilities during this time, especially, with Pluto in the 11th house. All of this is kind of playing out, where there's going to be a kind of, I think, greater understanding of the psychic self, the spiritual self, the emotional self, the individuated self, and how that's connected to, I think, the healing of the planet. So because Pluto's there, it goes really deep, it's the healing of the soul, it's the healing of the planet, it's the healing of the collective. And so a lot of beautiful energies just supporting the work within, and that being reflected as the work without happening on the global stage. So I think that wraps it up. I'm really grateful to be able to do this work, read for people that contact me. So if you are interested in booking a session, just go to inspiringplayfulevolution.com, inspiringplayfulevolution.com, and look at the within my section of self-gnosis, astrology sessions. You can find a button for booking a transit session. So I just read through the transits for you personally with your chart and look at, where all the planets are and what's happening for, any particular time. If you want to look back, we can look back, and so on and so forth. But I love doing those sessions, and they are an hour long. And so, yeah, you can reach me there. 21stcenturyweaver@gmail.com. And I hope you're all doing well, making the best of these energies. This is like we're birthing the future. And, it's like, when you're playing pool and you're aiming, you're aiming the pool stick, you have to make sure, like, just being off by a millimeter, right, can throw the ball completely off. So when we're birthing something, we have to be extra precise. So I think, this is a time where a lot of planets are in retrograde too, and we're having to think wisely about, like, okay, how are we going to birth this next chapter? And how can we fine tune things right now, like based on all these different lessons that we're learning? So I have really strong confidence that, the world is continuing to wake up and people are continuing to evolve. And I see things changing, and there's a lot of transparency now. So everything can only increase in awareness, and everyone can only become more aware. And that leads to deeper transformation of self so that we can do this work. So thank you very much, and I'm wishing you all a wonderful July. Take care.